let's hit it.
And welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
All right, here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and today we've got an exciting show for you. But before I introduce our guest today and we get talking with Mirador magazine, which is specifically designed for those living with dementia, I am just going to do a few shout-outs. First, I want to thank the Mark Arneson Band. They do our opening music, which is called Clarion Call, and if you like that, you can download it on any of your favorite music platforms. For those of you that are new to our show, we go for about an hour. We are True Talk Radio, and we like to have sound information for you, not just sound bites. We like to talk to people in the trenches, from those diagnosed to family members, a variety of businesses, advocates, researchers, and so forth. So maybe, just maybe, if you're listening, maybe you've got the next story we need to tell. You can call in today because we are live at 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. Now, let's see. We've got a lot of stuff going on. COVID's still strong here in the United States, and I know in many other parts of the world. So I want to mention two support groups that I'm involved with. I think it's really important for people to stay connected. And right now we are doing virtual for Arthur's Memory Cafe, which we meet the second and the fourth Wednesday of each month at 1 p.m. Central. So that would be 2 o'clock Eastern, noon Mountain Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. That is for people with dementia and their care partners. Also with Brookdale North Oaks and the Shoreview Community Center, we do a program called Caregiver Connect. We were meeting in person. The last two we have done virtually. That meets the last Wednesday of each month at 10 o'clock. And I should mention Arthur's Memory Cafe is sponsored by Arthur Senior Care as well. They just do such a wonderful, wonderful job with things. Also want to mention Dementia Map. If you're not familiar with it, you're going to want to check it out. It's a global resource directory that myself and Dave Wiedrich, who has the Memory Cafe directory for 5 different countries, have built. We have 150 different categories that people can search, and it is free. You don't have to sign in or build an account. There's not going to be any pop-ups bothering you. And if you have a resource, product, or tool or information, we'd love to have you be part. We have both free listings as well as enhanced ones. Let me do also a shout out to Picnic Health. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Picnic Health is an Alzheimer's disease research study. And actually, by signing up, you automatically can get $25. And what they do, they collect and digitize all of your medical records into one online account. And then you can consent to share your anonymized data from your records with medical researchers. And by examining the real-world data from your medical records, researchers can find answers that they couldn't find necessarily in clinical trials. So it's important for us to kind of build a war chest and figure out what's causing this, and how does Alzheimer's work with other diseases as well. So feel free to share your story. Just go to picnichealth.com/speaks. That's picnichealth.com tavé.com/speaks. And also, if you care for someone who has Alzheimer's disease, you can, of course, sign them up as well. You just, of course, have to make sure that you have legal authority to do that. We are going to hear from the footbar walker, or I should say about the footbar walker from the Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner, and then we will be right back and talk with our guests.
I love the footbar walker, and let me tell you why. It is the option for my toolbox that I've been waiting for. Let's be honest. There are some clients who, despite our best rehab efforts, just aren't able to return to performing a sit-to-stand transfer on their own. Now I can offer my caregivers an easier, safer option that doesn't involve hoisting their loved one up from a sitting position. I don't recommend this walker for all of my clients, but I do recommend this walker for those caregivers looking for an easier, safer option with transfers. I would also encourage other therapists to add this walker to their toolbox. It's kind of like having my own mobile parallel bars for the client to pull up on. Whether it's a family caregiver at home helping a loved one with Parkinson's or dementia, CNAs in a long-term care facility assisting their patients, or therapists adapting to client and caregiver-specific needs, we now have a very safe and effective option to offer in the footbar walker. Check this product out at thefootbarwalker.com. That's it for today from Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner. Have a great day, and don't forget, if you can't do it, adapt it.
I love that walker. If you haven't checked it out, you really need to do that. It's absolutely fabulous. Now, let's get to our story today. I'm really excited because I think this is such a need. There's actually a magazine designed for those living with dementia. So I'm going to introduce you to Nikki Jardin and Tavé Fascé Drake, who are the co-founders of the magazine Mirador, and it is just fantastic to have them both with us today, because this magazine is an ad-free, leisure-oriented online or print publication that was created specifically for the enjoyment of people experiencing dementia or related illnesses like brain trauma. Maybe there's other different types of cognitive impairment. There's the neurodiverseness of what's going on in the brain these days has really expanded. So there's so many terms out there that people are using, and this can really help families and communities, and again, those that are living alone with their cognitive impairment. So Nikki Jardin has followed a number of creative paths throughout her life, and she loves exploring nature, playing music, and writing about the wonder and beauty of the world in all its forms. And so welcome, Nikki. I'm thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's really a thrill to be here. I really appreciate you having us on your show.
Well, you guys and your work is really important. So let me go ahead and introduce Tavé Fascé Drake, and she is the artistic director, the writer, entertainer, and she's an optimist. Having a mother who was diagnosed with MS at an early age really kind of formed a lot of her work, including early breeding and training of companion and therapy and service dogs, which is such a cool concept in and of itself that so many people don't know. So, Tavé, thank you so much for joining us today.
Lori, thanks for having us on. It's a huge honor, and I'd just like to publicly say the whole world is better for the work that you're doing. So thank you for Dementia Map and for the Alzheimer Speaks programming that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. That is so kind. You know, I always like to start out asking people if they've been personally touched by dementia in their own, family or circle of friends. And so, Tavé, do you mind taking that question first?
I don't mind at all. So my grandmother and I were very close, and her mother had come to live with us at some point in time. She was getting into her later years, and clearly had dementia. I don't even remember what we called it then, and I was quite young. But it was such a formative part of my really early years. I was about 4 years old, and we would essentially just spend time together. You know, we would spend hours together. This is when I was preschool age. So talking, not talking, in the yard, in the house, and it was like having a companion for me. And so I think as I got older, and then later with my mom and her MS, which comes with its own types of cognitive impairment, it just reminds me of those moments that I had, and the fact that we all have loved ones, whether it's a friend, a family member, a neighbor, somebody who's in our close circle or one step out, that are touched by either brain trauma, dementia, some other form of cognitive impairment, maybe they're on the spectrum, something. We all have people that we care about in our lives, and they're people we care about. So we want to have experiences with them. We want to keep sharing with them. We want to keep connecting with them. And maybe they're not the same as they were before, or maybe a person has only known them since they have been like this. But regardless, they are people that still have a very robust ability in being a human being, right, in being themselves. And it might be different than before, or it might be different than what somebody is used to, but it's a very valuable thing. And to be able to still spend that time with them, I think is really important.
Oh, I agree.
And in positive ways, and in playful ways, right? You know, fun, playful, or even just spending time together, you know, holding somebody's hand, or just sitting together and doing nothing sometimes, but being present. You know, it's really important. We don't do enough of that, any of us.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Nikki, how about you? Have you personally been touched in your own family or circle of friends with someone diagnosed with dementia or having symptoms?
I have. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. She lived actually to be in her late 90s. And currently I have an aunt who was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's at the age of 63. And I have been helping her. She's in a care facility now. She's in memory care. She's 68. And she has been just a joy to be around these last several years as her life has changed and her being has changed. But I love being able to experience her along the way on her journey. And this was actually, these experiences I've had with her is what inspired the creation of Mirador magazine, just because I was looking for different sorts of reading materials, more accessible reading materials for Rebecca and for people like her. But she was diagnosed a few years ago, and we had been seeing some changes with her, and it came to light through friends that, you know, her brain had been changing pretty significantly, and she was having some trouble just managing daily life and daily tasks. And, you know, myself and other family members came in to help her navigate her particular journey. And it's really been it's been an honor, a privilege, and really eye-opening to see primarily how people interact with folks with a dementia diagnosis, the caregiver community, which has been absolutely extraordinary, and just the way that this diagnosis has affected her personally, in the very real health aspect of it, but also emotionally. And I was really struck, I've been struck for these last few years at how people living with dementia, experiencing dementia as they go through it, there are different attitudes around it, where some people really are, you know, embracing the change and ready to really find a way to work with the changes in their brains, and other people maybe finding that there's a stigma attached to it. And that was one thing that Rebecca really struggled with, my aunt, was having a stigma attached to her dementia diagnosis. And it's something that myself and Tavé have really been interested in helping change this perspective for people. I know that your work, too, also addresses some of this, in that finding a way to maybe take some of this stigma off this so that people can find the help that they need earlier. One of the things that my aunt did was, she had some shame around her dementia diagnosis and hid it from the family for quite some time. And I hope that as more people become aware of the different sorts of neurodivergent issues that you had touched upon, that people think of a dementia diagnosis as something not to be hidden or ashamed of.
I agree. I think that is so important. And again, it's a huge factor. I'm going to ask you, you had mentioned that it sounded like your aunt really was the inspiration behind Medora magazine. Can you give us some more insights to that at all?
So when Rebecca was moving into her care facility, it was a big change for her. She was young. She was 63 years old and moving into a care facility where people around her were much older. That was a significant change for her already. And I was she moved down closer to be with me. I'm her only family in this area. And so I was with her on a fairly almost a daily basis for quite some time, just to help her settle into this new living situation. And so I was looking for things to help her along the way to find some comfort. She has always liked to read. She actually was a magazine editor and a contributor and a researcher for a conservation magazine in the Washington state area. And well-read, enjoyed magazines, enjoyed books, but primarily, liked to read Nat Geo and Time and all of these sorts of magazines. And so I was looking for things to have in her apartment that she can access. And I was surprised to find, actually, that there weren't any periodicals designed specifically for people living with brain change. I saw a lot of puzzles and game books, and that was all well and good. I saw there's a woman that creates some chapter books that are short sentence, short chapter, fiction books for people experiencing dementia. But I didn't see any leisure-oriented, just magazines that had shorter sentences, larger type, something that was a little bit more accessible than a typical magazine with its very small print, lots of imagery, where the stories are very, very long and sort of involved in over several pages. I was looking for something that was a little bit more, a little simpler than that, and I was surprised to find nothing. And I have a writing background. I was a freelance writer for several years. I worked on magazines. My family comes from a publishing background. They created a trade newspaper way back in the day. So I have that sort of experience. And so I thought, well, perhaps there should be something like this for people like my aunt. And so we went about creating it. I was able to asked Tavé if she could help me. I've always said that I'm a pretty decent writer. I'm a good writer, but I'm not a graphics person. I'm not a graphics designer. Tavé and I know each other. We actually play music together in a couple of different bands, and Tavé is always the one to design our posters and to help us with our graphics on the website and things like that. So I knew that I wanted somebody to come in and help me lay out this magazine, because that was the most important thing, that it actually looked the way I wanted it to look and be accessible visually. And so that's sort of the early inspiration around it. And yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Tavé, anything you want to add to that at all?
Well, I would love to just take pull the baton out of Nikki's hand, or put my open hand out for her when she passed it to me, when she said, what makes Mirador accessible. And I think the thing that is so specific about Mirador, and unlike other publications out there, we have no ads in our magazine. So it is completely ad-free. In addition to that, I would want to mention that it is for people with types of brain change, but it can be used by a wider variety of people. But that is not to say that the subject matter is specifically about brain change. So I often will make the comparison of something like, let's pretend this was a magazine for people who were colorblind. Well, it would be accessible for them, but it wouldn't mean that all of the articles or the puzzles were about being colorblind. And so I just want to put that up right up front. This is not a publication that is it's going to be talking about dementia. It's not going to be, going into health situations in regards to that. It's for enjoyment of people experiencing brain change and their family, friends, and community. And so it is accessible for the person who has dementia or other impairments because we're using sans serif font, so there's no extra, phalanges flying around on the font. It's very clear to read. It is a larger typeface. We use short, clear sentences, and that's not to say they're Dick and Jane short either, but they're bite-sized. And then our paragraphs contain their information. So there's not a lot of roaming about. You have each paragraph and it has its information in the next. Also, we have borders around things which help guide the eye. And the page is friendly to the eye. It's the colors we're using. We did a fair amount of research into different colors and imagery that works for the dementia mind, that works for somebody who has brain impairment or who's coming out of a traumatic brain injury and is working their way back to something closer than before, as well as people who are progressing further away from what they were before. So the colors are not, they're not cartoon style colors. In addition to that, it's the feel of the paper magazine. So we do offer Mirador both in print as well as online. And the print version has a heavier cardstock, and it is matte finish. So it has a nice texture to it, and the weight of it just feels good in the hand. So there's that as well. And then we feature many photos. So there's a large amount of photos that have to do with nature. There's animals, and then there are people and a lot of smiling faces. So we have bits of news that are shorter. They're positive. And as we all know, you can never see enough happy people or smiling faces. And then in addition to that, we have activities that can be done alone or with friends or in a larger group if it was a care facility. And then a number of puzzles. And often are puzzles that are something like, for example, it might be a find the difference. Unlike something that was strictly illustrated to find the difference, we create our own photos, and then you're finding the difference between the photos. Similarly with our object find. So the fact that we're using the photos, it makes it a little easier on the brain than strictly illustrative. And lastly, there's always a recipe and some information about food stuff in there. And we find our family and friends, sometimes they get to a point where eating, either they forget to eat, they're not interested in eating, and so it's always nice to have something that really entices the salivary glands. Sometimes it's a sweet, and we know for people with dementia, they get more prone to having a sweet tooth, and that's a nice thing. So we're offering some healthy options and some fun material. And then I just want to say that while it's accessible in those ways, we're not carrying over to the next page, or 5 pages later for your article. It's one and done. You've read it, and there you go. You have images that go with it. But I'm a parent, And so having children, it's the type of thing where, you want this to be enjoyable for the demographic audience, right? That's our people with dementia, our people with traumatic brain injury, et cetera. But for their friends, family, loved ones, you want it to be enjoyable for them too. Similarly to when you have children and they're listening to kids' music, it's awfully nice if it can be something the parents or the grandparents or the neighbors enjoy as well. So we take great pride in making sure that Mirador is something that can be enjoyed by all, because that is the way we're able to keep making connections. So for this individual, they're making their own connections internally and with the outside world, as well as when we're sharing it with somebody else. You're making connections with other people. And if everybody enjoys it, we're all having a better time.
Exactly. Well, one of the things, because you guys had sent me out a sample and stuff for me to be able to see, that I like is it isn't childlike at all. Most people who pick it up, I don't even think would necessarily recognize all of the differences, because it's done in a really classy way, a real comfortable way, with, like you said, the print size, the photos. It's just a very welcoming magazine, though it's a simpler design, but I don't know if everyone would really pick up the differences, because it does talk about a lot of different things, and like you said, it doesn't just focus on dementia at all. It's about the world and our surroundings and what is going on. I know my mom would have really appreciated something like that. Reading was very important to her, and she lived with the disease for 30 years, but even when she moved into the nursing home way back, she would read the paper or appear to read the paper because that was her habit, but she couldn't read the paper anymore. And the paper didn't have any pictures. It wasn't something she could flip through as easily as a magazine. And, there would be times I'd come in and see her, and it was evident she wasn't reading because it was upside down. But it was really important for her to keep that habit up. Even just to hold something to read for her. And I just think she probably could have read longer, something that was simpler and designed easier for her, and could have transferred from the paper to the magazine probably pretty easily in terms of doing that, and truly have been engaged versus just doing something out of habit. Nikki, anything that you want to add to what Tavé had mentioned? She went into such great detail of the thoughtfulness you guys have put into this magazine is incredible.
Well, thank you. We spent quite a bit of time, well over a year before we published the first issue, really working at it and talking with people that work with people with a dementia diagnosis, doing a bunch of research. We really wanted to create something that people would enjoy. I really appreciate you saying that your mother would have enjoyed it, and I also appreciate you saying that looking at it, it doesn't look childish. That was incredibly important to us. It is really important to us when each version that we create. We've published 3 issues now, and we're working on our 4th issue. And one of the things that is absolutely imperative is that it does not look like something for a child. A lot of the things that we're seeing for people with dementia, that there's a childlike aspect to it, and these are not children. These are adults, and with that would like to have something created for them as the adults that they are. And I also appreciate you saying that people just like to hold something, and the process of reading, the act of reading, I find people find that very comforting. I know that my aunt for a long time walked around with magazines that she was no longer able to access, but she liked having them in her hand because that was what she was used to.
Yeah.
And so I could tell that she wasn't able to read them because she would, ask me to read them for her, or it was the same magazine for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it would become dog-eared and that sort of thing. But I think it's really important that we continue offering things that are familiar and comforting.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they may not be able to absorb the story or read the story, absolutely verbatim, I think it's still important and comforting for the body, for the mind, to continue activities that are familiar and comforting to ourselves.
I totally.
And that was
totally
one of the
agree.
reasons why we created.
Yeah, in looking at it, I mean, really, I think this should be almost in every beauty shop, just even for older eyes. And a lot of the magazines that are in there, I know a lot of people are looking at, but really can't read them just because of eye changes alone. And this would still give them something, to look at and pass the time with as well. And I've seen many, go into the beauty shops and they've got cognitive impairment. And, there are, and it's kind of difficult now with COVID, but in a lot of the dementia communities and assisted livings, they have beauty shops within them. This would be a great, great asset to have in their communities, in beauty shops, in their rec areas, or lounge areas as well, just to give people another choice there. We've already touched on this a little bit, but I want to go, I want to dig a little bit further in terms of who you think who the magazine was originally designed for, and maybe with feedback, has that changed? Has it expanded? Because I could see that expanding from past, just people with dementia and cognitive issues.
I'm so glad you said this. I'm going to let Tavé expand on this too, but you're absolutely right. We had a target audience in mind when this was created, to fill a void for something that wasn't there. But one of the things that we've learned over the last year and a half is that there is a huge reach that this could actually be helpful for. We have friends that experiencing a cognitive impairment that actually just really enjoy the magazine for the reason that you said. It's a comfortable read. It has a lot of different exciting stories in it. It's just fun to look at. We have a friend, her neighbor has a autoimmune disease, and she's in her 20s and has a hard time reading magazines and other periodicals. She really loves this magazine, just based on her own needs. So we're seeing lots of different applications for it. People that are possibly learning to read English is also another aspect of it. People that want to show it to grade age children. There's lots of different people that are on an autism spectrum. So we're seeing lots of different utilizations for this. I'm going to let Tavé also expand on that.
I think you covered it. You did a pretty great job, Nick. Good work. We were. I'm so glad you asked, though, Lori, because we were talking about this the other day, and we did a great deal of testing. Right? We went into care facilities. We worked with people one-on-one. We gave template magazines to friends. We got input in different ways, and we saw firsthand how it can be used. And we have a coloring page, but that's not to say it's it's like an adult coloring book, but not overly detailed. So that's a nice thing for anybody, right? Again, because of the cardstock, you could even watercolor on that if you wanted. But we were talking about this a little more, and I likened it to the Skin So Soft phenomena, where Skin So Soft was an Avon product, and people wore it as a nice sort of way of smelling fresh or whatnot, and having a supple skin. And then when I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Africa, I had a colleague, a friend, who was using it as bug repellent, and it turned out this was a thing, right? And so people in the know started using it as a bug repellent. Well, fast forward 10 or 20 years, and now anybody who wants to go camping and not use DEET can use Skin So Soft, and they actually market it for that now. So you don't have to go to an Avon party and whatnot. So I think about Mirador that way too. You know, we have a person in mind. Yeah, I should say we have a group of people in mind that we're thinking of. But in addition, it's become very apparent English as a second language. We have an online component that's all Spanish. So for anybody who's learning Spanish or who is a Spanish speaker, that's out there as well. And in our busy day and age, we want to have things that we can look at, enjoy in bite-sized pieces, consume quickly or leisurely, but not drag on and on. So like some light reading material before bed or in between something, say, like you mentioned, you're waiting at a beauty parlor, or you're waiting in line somewhere, or you're looking on your phone at the website. We also have audio of all of the articles online. So you can listen as well. People could listen. They could read. They could be listening and read too. They could read and listen at the same time. So we're offering a lot of different options. And that we're finding is a nice thing for not just our loved ones who have brain change, but for everybody. Parents that have children that they would like to have something of quality for the kids and not worry about what sort of thing are they going to be enticed to try and buy, right? Because again, we have no advertising. For somebody who's coming from a different language, the fact that this is clear and again straightforward, what a wonderful thing, you know, to bridge that gap and have it be not a specific language reader, but that's giving you a well-rounded, positive thing. And then again, I keep bringing back our images, but we have a closer look page, for example. It's one full photo within the magazine that you can just look at. You're just going to look at it and notice detail. It's obviously different each time, but that's a nice thing for everybody. You know, it's a little bit of a respite from the busy world and a bit of self-care. So what we've been hearing from people is we had somebody write in and say, it's smart and it's witty and it's not condescending. So that was from a parent, right? Then we had somebody else, that was Rory N. Thank you for doing this. It's a beacon for so many of us. We are not alone, from Kim O. Then Greg loved the Dune Buggy article. There's a little something for everybody. So I also want to just mention we're not looking at just one gender, right? We want to make this enjoyable for people of all genders. He, she, they, either, neither. And so we're always trying to put in, there's music, something about music in each volume. We've got, I mentioned the recipes, we have puzzles, we have the photos. There's a comic that is ever changing, but it's using photos as well. And you can enjoy it with the reading it, or you can enjoy it without reading it. It's very light in the words, but you know, that's an awful fun thing too. And we have some tech stuff, like a little bit gadgety, and some things that are more art oriented. And then there's usually I guess I keep referring to it as the nostalgia piece. So we also have a wellness page, and I mentioned, I've mentioned the recipes. So Peace, Love, and Soup, I have a podcast, so we contribute the recipes and whatnot. But we have many contributors. So I know you had Teepa Snow on your show recently, and of Positive Approach to Care. We're such huge, huge fans of hers. And early on, when Nikki's aunt was diagnosed, we started going to, this was pre-COVID, and so when Teepa was still doing in-person stuff with Oregon Care Partners, they would have whole, big events, and we were able to go on 2 different occasions in person. So big fans of hers, really helped inform a lot about our work. And so one of her team, Judy Stock of Positive Approach to Care, is now our contributor for the wellness page. Cool. And then we have, and that's just, it's such a gift to us. And then Kathy Laurenhue of Wiser Now Wednesdays, she, as of Volume 3, is now the person responsible for the wonderful Light News pages, I should say, that we have, and then other people that are contributing. Tibor Demi of Life Boost Fit. We had Baba Wage Jakite, who's an artist and a Malian storyteller and ceramicist. We did an article on him, but in addition, he just shared some old Malian stories and artwork with us for that. And so the variety is there. I think how am I trying to say this? There's breadth to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's breadth to it. Yeah.
Yep.
And so thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who's reading. Thanks to people that are writing in. If you ever call, you're going to get one of us on the phone. I mean, we're a 2-person operation. Although we want to say thanks to Ty Juncker, who is our graphic designer, and she's amazing. We can hand her this stuff, and then I can say, how about kind of this color of green? Not pea soup, but kind of like the kind of evergreen, but a little bit. And she does it, and we work with her, and she's just amazing. And Lucinda Drake, one of my daughters, has been doing the coloring pages and some other illustrations for us. So thanks for that as well. But basically, we're a small all-woman team at this point, and we just appreciate everybody so much. And you're going to get one of us if you write or call. And so if you want to chat us up about anything, what you're up to, what we're up to, you have questions or how to purchase or other ideas, things you'd like to see, let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, we love talking to people.
Well, it's the best way to get feedback and get pumped up at the same time, to keep moving forward and expanding ideas and things. So I love the number of people you've pulled in, to assist in this project. It's just so important. And I think it's fantastic. I think we've kind of covered what makes it accessible to people in terms of, from a reading angle. And I love that you guys, have audio recordings too. I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty cool. How do people access the audios?
So we create, when we publish our print issue, almost simultaneously. It takes us usually a couple of days to get the audio up. We have an online version of the magazine. It's a flip book, an online flip book that we put on the website. We always have a sample edition up for people that just want to see what we're up to, and so folks can go to miradormagazine.com and go to the Our Magazines tab and take a look at samples. They can actually see all of Volume 1. We're always going to leave that up on the website so people can get a feel for us. There are samples of Volume 2 and 3. They can click on the link that we've provided, and a 8-page sampler will pop up, including audio. And so there'll be a little, looks like a little audio player on the page, and they can click that and hear a narrated version of whatever story they want to listen to. And those are recorded. Again, this is a grassroots organization. They're recorded. Those stories are narrated by myself and Tavé and other friends that we've roped in to help us with that. And that feature... Yeah,
thanks to Nathan Wilk for doing some of it.
Yes.
We had an intern last year named Nathan Wilk who did some writing and some wonderful audio recording as well. And Brian Delaney of Peace, Love, and Soup. And yes, go ahead, Nikki. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, you're fine. But the audio version is really important, and we're finding more and more how much that is appreciated by people. In fact, I talked to a subscriber yesterday who looks forward to the online version. That's how she interacts with the magazine with her husband. He enjoys flipping through the pages, the print magazine, when he gets it. But they also will sit with the audio version so he can read along with that, and that seems to be a real way for him to engage with the written material in a way that's a little bit easier for him. And so we are realizing more and more how important that audio portion is for folks.
Yeah, I could almost see this being used in multiple different ways, from activities in family for people listening, but also, and maybe you do this already, but posing a question or two. So if it's on travel, asking, what was your favorite vacation? Because some people in earlier stages, might want to write or might want to have a conversation with who's around them, but just having those prompts, or if communities decided to use this, staff is so tight right now. The more we can provide them to engage people with, the easier it makes their job to be. So just maybe having a question or two to pose to people at the end of an article, to get their brain thinking, even if it's not written down or not stated, but just getting them to think about that might be something of interest too. So just thought I would throw that in there.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because we failed to mention that. We do actually have those in our magazine. So there's usually around 6 to 8 of them in each volume, where there might be a thing that says, tell a story about baking, or what's something you might find at the beach, or, various things. We'll have these different prompts. And so that's a way of, again, having a conversation, or even just thinking about it. If it's just done solo. Imaging something, smelling. What does it smell like? Our word searches and other things, there's usually a lead-in paragraph where we try and entice the senses. So it's, imagine you're here. You're in such a place. You're at the beach. You're feeling the sand under your feet. The wind is going by you. You can hear this and that whistling. Those sorts of things. So you're feeling it. You're smelling it. You're tasting it, depending. And so we try and use a lot of that sort of imagery in general, or sensory imagery, if you will, and then put those prompts in. And then I love the idea, then that is a springboard, basically, for just doing more of that, or thinking up your own questions. We also have a craft, so aside from the page that could be colored in or watercolored, we have a postcard craft on the back page. So the back cover, on the inside, there'll be basically like a postcard that was written by somebody, and then there's a postcard that could be cut out and filled in for fun, or actually mailed to somebody. And we've had people cut them out and send them to other people, and we've even received some back ourselves asking for a subscription, which is really sweet. So we know they do go through the mail, but even the idea of writing or dictating, if we were going to talk to whomever, right, fill in the blank, Aunt so-and-so, the neighbor, whomever, what would we want to write and tell them? That maybe something was spurred in their minds. And then it could be either dictated and someone else could write it, or the person could write it themselves. So we have postcard crafts. We have the color page, which you could, you're free to print them out online from the online one, or make copies of them so they can be used in facilities. They can be used in groups. They could be used over and over again. The cooking is simple. These are often either no-cook or low-cook things that can be done, with small groups, with larger groups as an activity. You could blow them up and put them up with an overhead, or, again, pull it up online and do that in a larger format with larger groups of people in a whole care facility, or with a bunch of friends for fun. And, there's a wide variety of things that could engage any type of reader, listener, observer, introvert or extrovert.
One of the things that just flashed through my head, and I can't believe I didn't mention it earlier, but libraries. There are many, many libraries that have dementia-friendly areas, and they're putting packets together. This would be a wonderful addition to those packets. Into that area for people with cognitive issues, and it's just, like I said, it's just done so that it would be absolutely fantastic. Also, I was thinking about, neurologists, doctors' offices, gerontologists, neuropsych. A lot of them have magazines in their office, and again, maybe that's cut down because of COVID, but those could all be great possibilities for this magazine as well. It would be nice to.
Thank you so much.
Nice
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it would be nice to go someplace that has something specific to why you're there, because some people are really looking for tools and things that will align with their needs, at that point. And that's not usually what you find. You just find what's on the shelf, what you can grab off of, Walgreens or CVS magazine rack. And that doesn't always help people. And this is something that can give people pride and purpose and let them feel like they're fitting in our world today, that someone cares enough to make changes and so that they can adapt to something that they still love to do. I think it's majorly huge. You gave us some great quotes from people enjoying and reacting to the magazine. You can tell that they're engaged. I want to make sure that we give people information in terms of, how to reach out to you and how to get information. So the website, and I'm going to spell this out for people, is MIRADOR, and then magazine, MAGAZINE.com. So miradormagazine.com, and we have a link on the website and the blog and everything for this. You can also email them at miradormag, and so that's MIRADOR, and then mag, MAG, at gmail.com. Their phone number is 503-644-2113. So that's 503-644-2113. And their mailing address is P.O. Box 86761, and that's Portland, Oregon, and the zip is 97286. And again, we have all this on the radio page for you, and also our blog post and things. Are you comfortable telling people if they want a subscription, what the cost to that is? And it sounds like, online is free, if I'm not mistaken. And so, Nikki, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I would love to talk to people about how the cost of our magazine, because I think it's a well-priced product for what you get. So Mirador prints quarterly. We print 4 volumes a year, 32-page ad-free issues for a year. For $32 is a 1-year subscription. And that includes your shipping cost. So shipping's included in that price. And we also do sell at facilities or doctor's offices, like you suggested, or day centers. We do also offer a bulk rate discount for people that want to order multiple subscriptions. So let's say you wanted to order 5 subscriptions, so you would get 5 copies 4 times a year. That would be $150, and that's a discount off the standard rate. We do, you mentioned the free online. We will always offer our very first issue completely free online, so people can get a chance to really get a sense of what we're doing. The other volumes, Volume 1, Volume 2, and subsequent volumes, we will offer you an 8-page sampler online, but in order to get the entire magazine, you do need to subscribe. We have recently upgraded our website, so now we actually do offer an online-only subscription for people that might not be interested in the print version. So that is $25 a year, and that gives you access to the online version, including the audio and including all of the activity downloads that we offer to our print subscribers.
Oh, wonderful.
And we would, and
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I apologize for speaking over you. And I do actually really appreciate you saying that about the doctor's offices and such. And so if people would like to see their magazine in their care facility where their loved ones are, in a doctor's office, in a beauty salon, we would really appreciate you mentioning our product to people, because we'd love to really get this in the hands of folks. We have found that people that are subscribers really love it, are really enjoying it, and we would just like to see it get into more hands, because we think that it can provide a really good service to this particular community.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
I'm going to just add a little something. Oh, sorry. I'm going to just really quick say we were really privileged to be on Teepa Snow's show not too long ago. And Teepa said, I'll just put a quote in here. She said, "I truly believe this is something that's rare and yet much needed." And so we thank her so much for that. It means so much to us to be able to be on your show, to talk with people that are doing this amazing work. But that's what we're here to do as well. And, we're not doing our jobs if we can't get this into the hands of more people. So, or online for more people. So please spread the word. We want to make sure that we can get this out to everybody. We looked into it. We did a huge amount of rubric looking through the pricing and stuff to make it affordable. We do ship everywhere in the world. We're shipping, I think, to 4 different continents right now. There is a little bit of an additional charge for those because the shipping costs us more, but we'll ship to you anywhere in the world. I want to mention that if you buy a print subscription, that includes an online subscription as well for all of the content. And then for anybody, we're always going to be putting like a few little extra things online, so be sure and check that out. And then for our subscribers, there's additionally more things. So in our flip book, there'll be sections you can click, and that'll take you to extra areas so you can hear the person, let's say we did an interview with who is a musician, then you can hear Tevis Hodge Jr., for example, play. You could see a video of that. You're reading about the pileated woodpecker. Now you can click over and get more information about that. So there is a lot of additional content available as well online. We do offer bulk subscriptions, and you mentioned libraries, for example. Anybody, any facility, any organization, any, say even Department of Human Services, anybody that wants to purchase larger amounts, we will offer, we have pricing available for large scale as well. And then lastly, let's say it's somebody like, you or I, Lori, and we want to send to a friend or family member. And then we think, well, gosh, I'd like to send it to this person and that person. Well, the five issue subscription, I shouldn't say issue, buy 5 or more and get a discount, that doesn't have to go to the same address. That can go to multiple addresses as well.
Okay.
So I want to be sure and make sure people know that. And then Nikki's put together lots of options online too for people that just want to buy a single volume, or they want to buy a 2-pack of different, say it's number 2 and 3, or they want to buy a 3-pack of 1, 2, and 3. Those are all available online too. And she just put together some puzzles, so puzzle packs, and new and improved puzzles as well. So those are all supplemental or different ways that you can access it for yourself or for your loved ones. And as always, let us know what more we can do to be of service. Okay, sounds good. And I was just, I looked at you guys on Dementia Map, and I just realized we should probably change under our product section books and magazines and get you listed there versus under Dementia Friendly. I think there's so much under Dementia Friendly that could wash you out, and people would know for sure that it's a product that they can purchase. So I'll talk with Dave about that. But again, thank you too for all you're doing. It's absolutely fabulous. Again, you can go to their website, Medora Magazine, and again, just .com, and that's Mirador, Medora Magazine.
.com for further information. I want to thank you for the thought that you put into this. It is incredible. You've really done a beautiful, beautiful job targeting this market and then finding out how expansive the need really is for it. So pass it along, everybody. Don't keep it quiet. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lori LeBay.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.